Ladies and gentlemen, most people die long before they're buried, not because their heart stops beating, but because they keep handing over their time, their attention, their mind to everything and everyone but themselves. Look around. Endless scrolling, endless comparing, endless noise, all of it designed to keep you asleep to your own potential. You have one life, yet how many days have you sold for cheap approval? How many dreams have you buried under excuses and distractions? The moment you turn your focus inward, something changes. You stop running after people who don't care. You stop chasing shallow applause. You stop needing permission to exist. This is why you must listen closely, because every minute you spend here is an investment back into the only person who can truly change your life. You. If you stay till the end, you'll remember who you were before the world convinced you to forget. You'll remember what it feels like to be alive on your own terms. And you'll learn how to protect your time, your mind, your peace, fiercely. So listen and ask yourself, how much of your life are you willing to waste before you finally choose yourself? You see, the world wants your energy. It feeds on your distractions. It profits from your confusion. But when you take that energy back, you become dangerous. Focus on yourself. Sit in silence long enough to hear your own thoughts again. Let the noise of the world pass you by like cars on a highway, while you stand still on the shore of your own mind. Do not apologize for cutting people off who drain you. Do not explain why you'd rather be alone than surrounded by shallow company. Let them think you've changed, because you have. Remember, nothing changes until you do. Your life is a reflection of your attention. Wherever it goes, your future grows. So guard it like your life depends on it, because it does. You are not here to live halfway. You are not here to be a background character in someone else's story. You are here to wake up, reclaim your time, and shape a life worth living, fully awake, fully present, fully yours. Stop wasting your life. It's yours, and no one will live it for you. Focus on yourself, and watch how the world you once chased turns to watch you instead. Most people spend their whole lives pouring their energy into everything and everyone but themselves. It starts so quietly, so innocently, that you don't even notice it. As children, we learn to look outside for permission. We want to be liked, praised, included. So we say yes when we want to say no. We smile when we want to cry. We stay quiet when we should speak. And slowly the habit forms. Abandon yourself just a little, and you'll belong. Years pass. The world grows louder, busier. Now, instead of just family or school, there are bosses, partners, friends, strangers on the internet. Their opinions, their judgments, their expectations. You carry them all like heavy bags you never put down. You become addicted to pleasing, performing, and pretending. You chase approval like it's oxygen, terrified that if you stop, you'll disappear. But every single time you choose them over you, you lose something. You lose an inch of your truth. You lose a day you'll never get back. You lose the quiet, solid knowing that your life is your own. And you don't even feel it at first, because you're so busy working for someone else's dream, so busy caring for people who don't always care for you the same way, so busy showing up for everyone except the person who needs you most, yourself. Think about it. How many times have you swallowed your anger just to keep the peace? How often have you hidden your real feelings because you feared they were too much for someone else to handle? How many nights have you stayed awake, replaying conversations in your head, wondering if you said the right thing, did the right thing, looked the right way? Self-neglect rarely looks dramatic. It's not a single explosion. It's slow erosion. 1,000 tiny moments of betrayal against your own heart. And the cost is high. It's your confidence. It's your sense of worth. It's the courage to stand alone when standing alone is the only honest choice left. Most people don't even realize the pattern until they're too tired to fight it, until they wake up one day resentful, drained, and wondering why they feel so invisible. But here's the secret no one wants to admit. You teach people how to treat you by how you treat yourself. Every time you put yourself last, you tell the world you deserve to be last. Every time you say yes when you mean no, you train people to expect your sacrifice. Self-neglect doesn't just rob you of happiness, it robs you of life, because the moments you spend performing for others are moments you could have used to build your own dreams. While you're busy fixing everyone else, who's fixing you? While you're listening to everyone else's pain, who's listening to yours? While you're giving all your time and energy away, what's left for the life you secretly long for? No one will come to rescue you from this pattern. People will happily take what you give. They won't stop you from exhausting yourself. They won't insist you rest, heal, or reclaim your own time. Why would they? It serves them well when you carry more than your share. It keeps them comfortable when you stay small, agreeable, silent. But you have to see what it's costing you. Years you'll never get back. Dreams you keep postponing. Passions you keep silencing. The truth you keep burying because you're afraid of who will leave if you live it. And that fear that someone will leave if you put yourself first is the cage that keeps you stuck. You don't owe anyone your self-abandonment. You don't owe anyone an explanation for choosing yourself. You don't have to ruin your body, your mind, or your spirit just to make someone else comfortable. The people who truly love you will never demand that sacrifice. They'll respect your boundaries, that celebrate your wholeness. They'll stand with you when you stop living small. To break this pattern is not easy. You'll feel guilty at first, selfish even, because you've been trained to believe that your worth comes from how useful you are to everyone else. But usefulness is not the same as value. You are valuable because you exist, not because of what you do for others. The day you understand that is the day your real life begins. The day you say no when you mean no. The day you rest when you're tired. The day you walk away from people who drain you. The day you protect your dreams like they matter, because they do. The day you decide that your peace is more important than their comfort. Focusing on yourself isn't abandonment of others. It's returning home to the only person who will walk with you from your first breath to your last. Yourself. You deserve your own care, your own respect, your own protection. You deserve to live a life that feels true, not perform one that looks good. Stop handing over your time like it's nothing. Stop giving your soul away piece by piece. Life is short, yes, but it's long enough to become who you truly are. If you stop wasting yourself on what doesn't matter, choose yourself. It's the most generous thing you will ever do, for you and for everyone who truly loves the real you. Time is the one currency you can never earn back. It slips through your fingers, silent and invisible, yet it costs you everything. We are taught to fear losing money, fear losing status, fear losing people. But the greatest loss of all is the time we let slip away on things that don't nourish us, don't grow us, don't move us closer to the life we secretly dream about in the quiet corners of our mind. Think about it. Every distraction you allow steals a piece of your life. Every moment spent refreshing a screen, arguing with people who don't matter, gossiping, scrolling, comparing, worrying about opinions, all of it is borrowed time you will never get back. Days turn into years like this. It's subtle. You tell yourself you'll start tomorrow. You'll focus next week. You'll chase that dream when life calms down. But life doesn't calm down. It keeps coming at you, demanding your attention. And if you don't guard it fiercely, the world will keep stealing it from you. Your time is precious, not because someone told you it is, but because it's limited. That's the brutal honesty of existence. You have no idea how many days you have left, yet you live like they're infinite. You promise yourself you'll spend more time on what matters later. Later, when you have more money, more energy, more courage. But later is a lie we tell ourselves to feel safe in our procrastination. Look around you. How many people do you know who said they'd write the book someday, start the business someday, travel someday, speak their truth someday? How many of them actually did it? How many got trapped in their routines, their excuses, their comfort zones, until someday turned into never? It's a tragedy played out in plain sight, and most people are too numb to notice. Every time you give your attention away to something trivial, you're saying no to something sacred inside you. You're saying no to your goals, your growth, your peace. You're saying no to the deep work that could transform your reality. This is why your time must become your most guarded treasure, because once it's spent, it's gone forever. No refund, no rewind. People who respect their time look strange to the world. They seem selfish, unavailable, even rude, but what they truly are is awake. They understand that their minutes are priceless. They know that 10 minutes wasted here, an hour wasted there, it adds up to entire chapters of a life they can't rewrite. They know that wasting time is not harmless. It's the quiet death of potential. Ask yourself honestly, how much time have you spent living inside someone else's story? How many hours have you sacrificed to feed your insecurities, comparing your behind the scenes with someone else's highlight reel? How many evenings have you numbed yourself with entertainment instead of facing the discomfort that might push you to grow? Distractions aren't just accidental. They're engineered. Businesses want your attention because your attention is profit. Platforms want your mind wandering in endless loops because every second you spend scrolling makes them richer and you poorer. Poorer in focus, poorer in ambition, poorer in time you can never reclaim. This isn't about demonizing technology or connection. It's about waking up, using tools instead of being used by them, choosing your focus instead of letting it be chosen for you. Because you are the gatekeeper of your time, and if you don't guard the gate, the world will walk right in and waste your life for you. To honor your time, you must become ruthless. You must learn to say no, not out of cruelty, but out of deep respect for yourself. You must cut out shallow conversations that drain you. You must limit your exposure to noise that numbs you. You must build walls around your dreams, so only what truly matters can reach you. Some people will not understand. They'll say, "You've changed," and they'll be right. Because you'll no longer be available for every meaningless invitation, every pointless argument, every mindless distraction. You'll be busy living. You'll be busy creating. You'll be busy becoming the version of yourself you promised you'd be when you were younger and still believed in your potential. You don't have to be perfect. You don't have to use every second wisely. But you do have to care. Care enough to notice where your time goes. Care enough to notice when you're numbing yourself instead of facing your life. Care enough to remind yourself that this moment right now will never come again. When you understand the real cost of your time, you stop spending it cheaply. You stop giving it away to people who don't value it. You stop wasting it trying to fit into boxes that shrink you. You start living like your life is your own, because it is and always has been. Guard your time like treasure. Spend it on what matters. Invest it in who you want to become. Because one day, whether soon or far away, you'll look back and only you will know if you spent it well. There comes a point in every life where you realize that no amount of noise, no flood of praise or recognition, no glittering distraction from the outside world will ever fill the emptiness you feel inside when you abandon yourself. The fulfillment you crave, the sense of purpose you chase in jobs, relationships, possessions, it all circles back to one quiet truth. Nothing out there can fix what you refuse to face within. Real meaning, lasting satisfaction, deep peace. These things grow inward, not outward. Yet most people spend their entire lives running in the opposite direction. They think if they just work harder, earn more, get more likes, more approval, more admiration, then they'll finally feel whole. So they run faster, push harder, chase longer. They keep upgrading their surroundings, but neglect their inner landscape. And then they wonder why, at the end of every achievement, there's still a hollow echo where joy should be. When you live outwardly, you live conditionally. Your mood depends on what other people say or do. Your worth rises and falls with every compliment or criticism. One harsh word from someone you barely know can ruin your entire day. That's the cost of depending on the world for your sense of self. You become fragile, restless, easily broken. You become addicted to external validation because you've never learned to generate your own. But turn inward, really inward, and everything changes. When you sit with yourself long enough to hear the truth beneath your fear, you realize how little you need from the outside world to feel whole. You discover that you can create your own validation, your own calm, your own power. The world doesn't hand it to you. You grow it within you like a seed that only needs your attention to bloom. This is the secret people search for in 1,000 wrong places. That the peace you crave is not hidden in a perfect partner, or a promotion, or an applause. It's waiting behind the noise of your mind, underneath the constant chatter of your insecurities and desires. But to find it, you have to stop running. You have to be brave enough to sit in silence, to feel your discomfort instead of numbing it, to listen to the parts of you that you've ignored because they're inconvenient or painful or strange. It's not easy. No one wants to face the raw truth of their own mind. It's far more comfortable to point outward, to blame others, to distract yourself with entertainment and busyness. But the freedom you seek lives in the uncomfortable spaces you avoid, in the quiet moments when you have no one left to impress, nowhere left to hide. True fulfillment is not the rush of achieving something big, though that can feel good for a moment. It's the steady knowing that you are living in alignment with who you really are, that your actions match your values, that your relationships nourish you instead of draining you, that your choices come from your truth, not your fear. When you focus inward, you stop asking, how can I get more, and start asking, what do I actually need to feel alive? The answers are always simpler than you expect. You realize you don't need 10,000 admirers. You need one honest friend. You don't need constant noise. You need space to think, to feel, to breathe. You don't need to become someone else. You need to remember who you were before the world told you who to be. Some people fear this path because they think it means becoming selfish or disconnected. But the opposite is true. When you live from the inside out, you become more present, more genuine, more alive. Your relationships deepen because they're based on truth, not performance. Your work becomes meaningful because it reflects your real values, not someone else's agenda. You stop competing for scraps of attention because you know your worth doesn't depend on a scoreboard you didn't even create. The beauty of turning inward is that it frees you from the endless chase. It frees you from needing life to go exactly your way in order to be okay. You become unshakable. Not because the world stops testing you, but because you have a place inside yourself that no one can touch. This is the kind of wealth no one can steal. The richness of being at home in your own soul, the quiet power of knowing who you are when no one is watching, the unshakable peace of realizing you're enough, exactly as you are, flaws and all. Pause for a moment. Close the doors to the noise. Ask yourself, where am I outsourcing my fulfillment? What am I trying to get from the world that I haven't yet given to myself? Then be brave enough to sit with what you find. Grow roots inward. Tend to the parts of you you've neglected. When you do this, life changes in ways you can't plan. The right people stay, the wrong people fade. The noise loses its grip, and you begin to understand what freedom really feels like. Not freedom from responsibility or challenge, but freedom from the prison of needing the world to complete you. Because the truth is simple. Real fulfillment never lived out there. It has always been waiting quietly inside you, asking only for your attention to set it free. There is a quiet power that comes from stepping away from the constant noise, the endless chatter of other people's opinions, the distractions that fill every corner of your day. In a world that rewards loudness, relentless connection, and the performance of being busy, choosing to isolate yourself for a while can feel like rebellion. And in many ways it is. It's a rebellion against the parts of life that keep you from hearing your own thoughts, your own voice, your own truth. Most people don't realize how much noise they live in until they step out of it. We've normalized distraction so deeply that silence feels uncomfortable. We've trained ourselves to reach for our phones the moment there's a pause, to fill every gap in the day with something, a conversation, a notification, a headline, a song, anything to keep us from sitting quietly with ourselves. Because when you sit quietly, all the parts of you that you've ignored start to speak up. And they don't always say what you want to hear, but there is treasure in that discomfort. There is clarity in the moments when you pull back from the world and listen only to what echoes inside your mind. Some truths are shy. They won't shout over the noise of your obligations, your social feed, your anxious thoughts. They wait patiently for you to get quiet enough, still enough, alone enough to notice them. And when you do, you realize that isolation isn't emptiness. It's a clearing, a space where you can finally see what's real. Many people fear isolation because they confuse it with loneliness, but they are not the same. Loneliness is a hunger for connection. Isolation, when chosen with intention, is nourishment for the soul. It is where you reconnect with the parts of you that get lost when you're constantly surrounded by other people's energies, expectations, and noise. When you isolate yourself, you give your mind room to stretch out, to wander without interruption. You let your thoughts come home. Think of how often you've made decisions just because someone else's voice was louder than your own. How many times have you ignored your gut because the world around you is telling you to do the sensible thing, the popular thing, the easy thing? When you isolate yourself, you reclaim that power. You get to ask, what do I really want? What do I really believe? What is true for me, not for them? There's a reason the greatest thinkers, artists, and leaders in history all understood the value of retreat. They knew that new ideas don't bloom in crowded rooms full of noise and distraction. They bloom in solitude, when the mind is free to wander past the surface chatter and down into the depths of something real. This is why isolation is powerful, because it reconnects you to your own source. In the quiets, you remember your priorities. You see the people who drain you more clearly. You notice the habits that steal your time. You feel the small nudges from your deeper self that say this way, not that way. And once you hear them, it's hard to unhear them. Choosing isolation, even for a little while, teaches you that you are enough company for yourself, that you don't need constant validation to feel real, that you don't have to be plugged in to be alive. It reminds you that your energy is precious and that not everyone deserves access to it. Some people won't understand when you step back. They'll call you distant, cold, antisocial. Let them. You're not here to entertain their expectations. You're here to find your own clarity. In the silence, your power grows. You realize you don't have to react to every provocation. You don't have to explain yourself to everyone who demands an explanation. You can simply exist, strong in your own presence, unbothered by the world's noise. This kind of strength scares people who rely on your constant availability. It confuses those who expect you to stay tangled in the same drama, the same cycles, the same distraction. But you didn't come here to be available to everyone and everything. You came here to know yourself, to live in alignment with your truth, to protect your time and mind like the sacred spaces they are. Isolation gives you the space to do that. It is a pause that sharpens your next move, a retreat that fuels your return. When you step back from the world for a while, you don't lose it, you see it more clearly. You return stronger, calmer, more rooted in what matters. You don't waste energy chasing things that don't feed you. You don't cling to people who drain you. You don't spend your days performing for a world that barely notices when you're gone. Embrace the silence. Make time for your own company. Sit in the quiet, so your real thoughts can find you again. In that space, you will remember who you are when no one is watching. And you will see, perhaps for the first time, just how powerful it is to stand alone, clear-eyed and undistracted, in a world that never stops trying to pull you away from yourself. Most people don't realize how deeply the world is designed to keep them distracted. It's not just accidental noise or random temptations. It's a finely tuned system built to hold your attention hostage. Every headline is crafted to stir your emotion. Every ad is calculated to plant a seed of lack in your mind. Every ping, every alert, every endless scroll is part of an invisible web woven to keep you looking outward instead of inward, and it works brilliantly. From the moment you wake up, your mind is hijacked. Before you even feel the ground beneath your feet, you're already plugged in, checking messages, updates, news, someone else's thoughts. It's so normal you barely question it. But every tiny moment of stolen attention is a moment that could have been yours. Yours to think deeply, to wonder, to imagine, to create, to rest. Yours to be fully awake to your own life, not lost in the curated illusions of other people's lives. It's easy to shrug it off. What's a few minutes here and there? What's the harm in a little scrolling, a little gossip, a little comparison? But add it up, all those seconds, minutes, hours. They become the months you didn't write the book you dreamed about. The years you didn't start the project, take the trip, build the life that kept whispering to you when you were alone at night. Society profits from your distraction. Entire industries thrive because you're too busy consuming to create, too busy comparing to feel grateful, too busy numbing to notice the tiny voice inside you that says, there's more than this. If you woke up fully, if you truly focused, what would you stop buying? What would you stop tolerating? What shallow pursuits would you leave behind? The truth is, a distracted mind is a controlled mind. It can be fed a narrative, steered in any direction, sold any dream. As long as you're too scattered to ask deeper questions, you're easy to herd. This is why the world keeps you busy. It teaches you to confuse movement with progress, noise with importance. You're told that if you're always doing something, you must be getting somewhere, but where exactly are you going? It's uncomfortable to ask that, because the answer might reveal how much of your life is spent running in circles that benefit everyone but you. But discomfort is honest. It wakes you up. It forces you to notice that you're more than just a consumer, more than just a pawn in someone else's game. You're a living mind with the power to choose where your attention goes, if you remember that power exists. There's a reason people say awareness is the first step to freedom. When you see how distractions are designed, you stop taking them personally. You stop blaming yourself for having a wandering mind. You stop calling yourself lazy or weak. You realize this is not an accident, this is conditioning. And if you were conditioned into distraction, you can train your way out of it. This doesn't mean you have to abandon technology or disappear into the mountains. It means you learn to be deliberate, to stand guard at the gates of your mind, to pause before you open an app, to question whether you really need to know what a stranger is doing right now, to notice when you're reaching for noise because silence feels too raw. You start to ask, what am I running from when I distract myself? What uncomfortable truth am I trying to bury? Because behind every compulsion to scroll, to binge, to keep busy, there's usually something real you don't want to feel. And that something real is where your freedom lives. When you see how the world profits from your scattered mind, you understand that focus is an act of rebellion. Every time you choose to sit still, to read deeply, to listen fully, to create instead of consume, you're breaking the cycle. You're reclaiming your mind from forces that want to rent it by the second. Not everyone will understand when you stop dancing to the tune of distraction. Some people will say you've become distant, boring, disconnected from what's trending. Let them talk. They don't know how much it costs to stay plugged into everything all the time. They don't know how rich the quiet can be when you unplug and return to yourself. You are here to live, not just react, to build, not just scroll, to focus deeply enough that you actually finish what you start, and to protect that focus like a sacred fire that fuels the life you're meant to build. The world will keep trying to pull you back, and it will promise you comfort, entertainment, endless novelty. But none of that will ever feel as good as knowing you're awake to your own mind, fully present in your own life. So guard your focus. It is your truest wealth in a world designed to steal it. The moment you take it back, you stop being a puppet and start becoming the author of your own existence. Somewhere along the line, we learn to believe that we aren't enough. It's subtle at first, a passing comment, a comparison to someone else, a moment of rejection that burrows into our mind and takes root. And from that seed grows a quiet hunger for approval, for validation, for proof that we matter. We look outward to find it, in other people's eyes, in their praise, in the little nods of acceptance that tell us we're doing life right. But the cost of chasing that approval is high. It keeps you on a leash you can't see but always feel. You shape-shift to please people who are just as lost as you are. You say yes when your whole being screams no. You hide the raw, honest parts of yourself because you fear they'll make you unlovable. All of this just to feel like you're enough for a moment, until the next doubt creeps in. What if you didn't have to prove anything to anyone? What if you woke up one day and realized you are already enough? Not because you've achieved some great goal or won someone's praise, but because you exist right now as you are. This is the quiet truth, buried under layers of conditioning and fear. Your worth is not up for debate. It's not a prize you earn by jumping through hoops. It's your birthright. When you turn your focus inward, you begin to see how deeply this truth changes everything. You stop bending yourself out of shape to fit other people's expectations. You stop selling pieces of your soul for scraps of approval. You stand taller, speak clearer, choose differently. Because when you know you are enough, you don't need permission to be yourself. You don't need everyone to agree with you or like you or applaud you. Their opinions lose their power over you. Most people live in quiet fear of disapproval. They stay silent when they want to speak, stay small when they want to expand. They apologize for existing too loudly, but every time you shrink to make others comfortable, you teach yourself that you're too much, too honest, too intense, too different, and you start to believe that lie until it feels like truth. But look closer. Notice how much energy you spend trying to win over people who may never truly see you. Notice how much of your precious life you've given to playing roles you never chose. When you know you're enough, that energy comes back to you. Suddenly you have room to breathe, to create, to rest, to grow into who you were always meant to be, not the version the world said you should become. Being enough doesn't mean you stop learning or striving or dreaming. It means your efforts are rooted in truth, not lack. You grow because you want to, not because you fear you're inadequate. You improve because you love what you're building, not because you're terrified of being unworthy. This shift changes everything. It makes you unstoppable in the quietest way. You don't need the world to clap for you. You're not performing for an audience anymore. When you know you're enough, you become less reactive. Criticism stings less. Rejection doesn't break you. Praise is nice, but it doesn't define you. You don't chase people who don't want to stay. You don't beg for scraps of attention or love. You become your own anchor, your own sanctuary. This doesn't happen overnight. It takes courage to sit with yourself, to peel away the lies you've believed about your worth. It takes honesty to admit how much you've abandoned yourself just to feel accepted. It takes practice to remind yourself, daily, moment by moment, that you don't have to prove your existence. Some people won't like the you that knows they're enough. They'll miss the version of you who needed their approval to feel okay. They might call you distant, arrogant, selfish. Let them talk. Their discomfort is not your burden. Their confusion is not your responsibility. Stand firm. Be gentle with yourself when old patterns creep in. Celebrate every time you choose to stay true to who you are instead of shrinking to please someone else. This is how you build an unshakable core. One choice at a time. And if you ever forget, which you will, because you're human, come back to this. You are enough, not because of what you do or what you have or who accepts you. You are enough because you are here, breathing, awake, alive in this moment. That is the beginning of everything good. And when you know this deeply, you walk through life differently. You become impossible to manipulate, hard to shame, resistant to the world's noise. You belong to yourself. And nothing is more powerful than a person who knows without a doubt that they don't need to prove their worth to anyone. Not now, not ever. There's something remarkable that happens the moment you clear away the unnecessary. When you cut through the noise, the clutter, the constant distractions that fill your days with movement but not meaning. In that space of simplicity, purpose begins to rise to the surface. It doesn't shout. It doesn't need to. It simply waits for you to notice it, like a quiet truth that's been there all along. Most people think they're searching for purpose in some far-off place. They imagine it's a single, dramatic revelation waiting at the end of some perfect plan. They chase it in endless busyness, in other people's admiration. They chase it in endless busyness, mistaking activity for alignment. But purpose doesn't thrive in chaos. It emerges in clarity. When you remove what doesn't matter, what does matter finally has room to breathe. Think about how much of your life gets tangled up in things that have nothing to do with who you really are. Obligations you accepted just to keep the peace. Relationships that drain you but linger out of habit. Commitments that feel heavy because you made them for the wrong reasons. For appearance, approval, or because you didn't know how to say no. All of it adds weight you were never meant to carry. When you begin to let that weight go, when you dare to say, this doesn't serve me anymore, you create space for your deeper self to step forward. It's in this space that purpose makes itself known. It may not look grand or dramatic. Sometimes it whispers through a feeling of ease, a spark of curiosity, a pull towards something that just feels right, even if it doesn't make sense yet. This is what people often miss. Purpose isn't just a goal you chase. It's the natural direction your life wants to flow when you're not blocking it with distractions and obligations that aren't truly yours. You can feel it when you wake up and feel light instead of burden. You can feel it when your days make sense, when they connect to something real inside you. You can feel it when you do something that makes you forget the clock entirely. But to find that clarity, you have to be willing to disappoint people. You have to be okay with stepping back from things that once made you feel safe. You have to sit with the discomfort of emptiness for a while. Because when you clear out the unnecessary, there's always a moment of quiet before the new shape of your life appears. Most people rush to fill that space with more noise, more busyness, because silence feels awkward at first. But if you're brave enough to wait, you'll see what's been hidden underneath it all along. Clarity is not found in constant motion. It comes when you pause long enough to notice what drains you and what feeds you. It comes when you trust your gut more than the opinions of people who don't have to live with your regrets. It comes when you learn to ask yourself, what would I do if I wasn't afraid? And then listen, really listen to the answer. When you begin to live from that place of clarity, everything else starts to align around it. Decisions get easier. You no longer chase every shiny thing. You no longer say yes out of guilt or fear of missing out. You choose with intention. You guard your time because you know every hour spent on what doesn't matter steals an hour from what does. Your purpose doesn't have to be huge or loud or impressive to anyone else. It only has to be real to you. It could be building something with your hands. It could be raising a family with love and presence. It could be healing your own heart so you don't pass your pain on to others. It could be writing, teaching, serving, creating, exploring. It could be the quiet, steady commitment to live in alignment with your own truth, no matter how the world shifts around you. The moment you cut out what wastes your time, your energy, your spirit, you become a force. People will feel the difference, even if they can't name it. They'll see it in the way you protect your focus, the way you stand firm in your choices, the way you don't bend every time someone demands more than you're willing to give. Purpose isn't about perfection. It's about direction. It's about waking up in the morning and knowing, I may not have all the answers, but I know what I'm moving toward. And it's about trusting that the clearer you get, the closer life brings you to exactly where you're meant to be. So cut away what's unnecessary, say no more often. Protect your time like it's the foundation of the life you're building, because it is. And when the noise fades, when the distractions lose their pull, listen for the quiet pull of purpose beneath it all. It's always there, waiting for you to clear enough space to follow it home. There is a kind of freedom that very few people ever taste. It's not the freedom to go anywhere or buy anything or be whoever the world wants you to pretend to be. It's the freedom to stand fully in yourself, undivided, unapologetic, and clear. It's the freedom that comes when you stop scattering your energy in 1,000 directions and choose instead to direct it inward, to the only place that has ever really been yours. That is what radical self-focus gives you. It's not selfishness, it's not coldness. It's the simple, revolutionary act of refusing to abandon yourself for anyone or anything ever again. Most people never learn how to do this. They're too busy explaining themselves, too busy performing for people who never truly see them, too busy living by rules they didn't write. They measure their worth by what they can give away, their time, their love, their energy, their labor, often to people who only show up with open hands, never open hearts. The world praises this as selflessness, but the cost is so high. It's the quiet death of your spirit by 1,000 small cuts of neglect. But imagine this. Imagine what happens when you decide to gather every piece of your scattered self and say, enough. Imagine what happens when you reclaim your mornings, your thoughts, your dreams, your solitude. Imagine what happens when you stop apologizing for needing space, for choosing your peace, for wanting more than shallow distractions and half-hearted connections. When you focus radically on yourself, you stop asking for permission. You stop waiting for the world to hand you what you already have the power to create. You don't need their approval to grow. You don't need their applause to act. You don't need them to understand your journey, to know it's yours alone to walk. This kind of focus makes you fierce in ways that surprise even you. Suddenly, you're not so quick to explain your choices to people who would never carry your burdens anyway. You're not so quick to bend over backward for those who mistake your kindness for a guarantee that you'll always be there, no matter how they show up. You're not so easily guilted into overgiving, oversharing, overextending. And people will notice. Some will resent it. Some will test your boundaries. They'll poke at the parts of you that used to yield so easily. They'll remind you of the old version of you, the one who was always available, always agreeable, always tired. Let them talk. Let them tug at doors you've locked shut. You owe no explanations for your healing. Radical self-focus is not about isolation for its own sake. It's about alignment. It's about remembering that when you stand fully inside yourself, you have more to offer the world, not less. Because when you stop giving your energy away to things that drain you, you have more to give to what matters. You have more to give to your purpose, your creativity, your loved ones, your own becoming. This is what makes you free. Not detached from life, but deeply anchored in what's real for you. You can be in the world without being consumed by it. You can show up for others without abandoning yourself. You can listen without absorbing everyone else's noise. You can love without losing yourself in the process. This is the rebellion, to belong to yourself in a world that profits when you don't. When you choose radical self-focus, you are saying to the world, I will not live on autopilot. I will not spend my days surviving other people's chaos while my own life sits untouched. You are saying, I am worth the time it takes to know myself. I am worth the solitude it takes to hear my own thoughts. I am worth the effort it takes to protect my dreams, like the treasures they are. There will be days when you slip, days when the old habits tug at you, days when the fear of disappointing people feels heavier than your desire to stand firm. Be gentle with yourself, but come back. Again and again, come back. Each time you do, you reinforce the truth. Your mind is yours. And when you stand fully in that truth, you become unshakable in the quietest, most powerful way. Not because the world stops pulling at you, but because you stop answering every knock at your door. You choose what gets your attention, your energy, your presence. You live like you belong to yourself. fully, fiercely, without apology. In that way, radical self-focus is not a wall you build to keep life out. It's a gate you guard to let only what nourishes you in. It's the truest kind of freedom. Not freedom from responsibility, but freedom to live awake, aware and anchored in the only thing you ever truly own, yourself.